Title: What if ancient Greece had esports instead of the Olympics? Introduction. The ultimate what if. Picture this: ancient Greece, 776 BCE. Instead of chiseled athletes throwing javelins and wrestling in the dirt, there's a packed coliseum of toga-clad spectators cheering for their favorite StarCraft player. Zeus himself blesses the winner with a golden laurel, while Socrates argues on a Twitch stream about the ethics of microtransactions. If ancient Greece had hosted esports instead of the Olympics, the world might have turned out very differently. So grab your olive wreath and your gaming mouse, because we're about to dive into one of history's wildest alternate realities. Chapter 1. The birth of esports in Olympia. The original Olympic Games were held to honor Zeus, featuring events that showcased physical strength and endurance. But what if, instead of running and discus throwing, the Greeks competed in games of strategy and reflex? Imagine an ancient League of Legends tournament, with philosophers debating the best build paths. Plato, always the idealist, insists that only pure skill should determine the victor no pay to win mechanics allowed. Spartans: we train from birth to be warriors. Athenians: we train from birth to execute perfect APM. Instead of the gymnasium, the Greek world's top players would gather at the e-gymnasium, practicing on marble desks, their fingers lightning fast on wooden gaming boards. The arenas would be filled with crowds chanting, "Hercules OP, play us Nerf." Chapter 2. Gods of the Game, Divine Sponsorship. In Greek mythology, gods often had their favorite heroes and warriors. If esports were the main form of competition, you bet Zeus would have his own sponsored team, Poseidon. I bless only those who can micro their navy well. Ares: click faster, more APM, charge! The gods would favor different gaming styles. Athena, goddess of wisdom, would bless strategy-based players, while Ares, god of war, would support all-out rush tactics. Imagine getting a power-up mid-match because you made a proper sacrifice at the Temple of Zeus before logging in. Meanwhile, Apollo's oracle at Delphi would predict the next great esports champion, though half the time her predictions would be as vague as a magic 8-ball. Chapter 3. Socrates versus Plato. The great gaming debate. The great philosophers of the time would have taken esports seriously, treating it as an art form worthy of deep intellectual discussion. Socrates, being the relentless questioner, would roam the forums, asking, "What is true skill?" While Diogenes trolled everyone in the comments, refusing to acknowledge any meta-strategy. Meanwhile, Aristotle, ever the pragmatist, would write the first-ever guide to Greek Esports Theory 101. Socrates: a gamer who does not question his tactics is no gamer at all. Plato get good? Chapter 4. The first-ever gaming festivals. Esports, Pancration. The ancient Olympics included Pancration, a no-holds-barred combat sport. If esports were in place, imagine a massive gaming festival in Olympia, where teams from across Greece competed in tournaments that lasted days. The Spartans, known for their brutal training, would field the most disciplined teams, never tilting, never surrendering. Meanwhile, the Athenians would rely on tactics, outthinking their opponents, rather than outclicking them. The winners? They'd be awarded olive wreaths, eternal glory, and perhaps a sponsorship deal with the Oracle of Delphi. Because even in ancient Greece, you needed good branding. Chapter 5. The impact on modern-day gaming. If esports had been ingrained in history from ancient Greece, how would things look today? Instead of schools prioritizing physical education, every child would be required to master the art of APM actions per minute. Gaming would have long been considered a noble pursuit, alongside philosophy and science. And forget traditional sports like soccer and basketball. Our world's biggest events might still be centered around grand coliseums, packed with gamers, competing in a centuries-old tradition started in ancient Olympia. Modern-day Olympics? No thanks. I'm here for the Hades Land World Championship. Conclusion. A timeless tradition? If ancient Greece had esports instead of the Olympics, the world today would look very different. Competitive gaming might have been taken just as seriously as philosophy and warfare. Who knows? Maybe in an alternate timeline, we'd all be worshipping Zeus, the god of lag-free gaming. One thing's for sure, if Socrates were alive today, he'd still be arguing with his teammates in voice chat. What do you think? Would esports have changed history for the better or worse? Let us know. No rage quitting allowed.